Hi, everyone. I'm going to probably repeat myself around this a couple of times as people come in. But please do go to the poll and see if you can kind of quickly run through it so that we have um, kind of some thoughts about your inputs by the time we get to the end in the Q&A. And Tony, I'm really happy to see you here. And I'm really sorry that we haven't met yet in person, but I'm sure that that's coming. We're just giving a couple of minutes for people to fill out the poll. So please take this time to do that. We really want your feedback. It helps guide us. It helps us think about where we invest, and it helps us understand kind of what your needs are to be able to participate even more closely. Again, part of what we're doing is we're just waiting for folks to show up. There were quite a few registered, and I know sometimes people do that just so that they can get the audio and the video. But please do answer the poll, and let's use that time for the next couple of minutes. It looks like we have really good participation, but I'd like to see that participation increase even more. Your feedback is essential to our planning and to our investments. Um, and what you need is what helps us make decisions in terms of how we kind of steer LF Energy going forward.
All right, I think we can get started. Do you want to go over the antitrust policy notice, Shuli?
Well, I think in the scheme of things, this antitrust policy notice, for as kind of mundane and legal as it is probably one of the most important things about what the Linux Foundation does, which is provide the place for collaborative investment. If, however, you feel like there's any concerns around any kind of antitrust violation, please do read this, and it'll give you some direction around where to go to speak about our policies and any concerns you might have. So we have a pretty easy agenda. What we don't want to do is kind of like throw a million slides at you. What we really want to be able to get to, it is to sort of show this is where we've grown in 2022, and this is where we're going in 2023. But we also really want to create the space for open discussion. That's the reason why the poll is so important. We really do want to hear what your thoughts are. And I think, Dan, were you suggesting that there were the two other questions and folks weren't answering those, or is there any direction I can give people?
Yeah, just there are a couple questions here at the bottom. If anyone has any thoughts on these, please click the Q&A button and you can submit feedback there. Feel free to do that anytime during the presentation, and we have time allotted at the end. We will put these back up at the end as well to go over all the feedback that is submitted.
Great. So just take a second to read those, and then please put something in the Q&A box and we will track those. Okay, why don't you bring me up to the cover slide. Okay, so I just kind of want to say something. Maybe some of you are looking at my haircut and thinking that it is a very stylish urban haircut. Some of you also know that I've been fighting cancer, and I just want to say something about that because I think that transparency is really important, and there's no way that I can look at 2022 and not acknowledge that that's been sort of part of the environment. I don't think it's harmed us, but for me, I've had a lot of time to really think and consider sort of my experience of cancer, and not seeing and basically seeing it also within the context of what it is that we're doing at LF Energy. We are trying to respond to an urgent situation, and it's something that, over time and over the years, we're probably going to wax and wane in terms of our hopes and our fears, and I think that there's some aspect of what I've been going through that's really taught me a lot about perseverance, and also really authenticity, about being able to be present with what is, to acknowledge that we're up against very stiff winds with regards to the energy transition and policy and all kinds of things that have made our work difficult. But what I've seen is within this community, and that has been really inspiring to me and has kept me going during some dark nights of the soul, has been a willingness to continue to commit and to keep going despite any of the noise that's kind of in the system. And there's a lot of noise that's out there. I think there's been some very interesting kind of discussions about what's happened at COP27 and the amount of sort of chaos that we're existing in. And I think we can kind of assume that's going to be true for a considerably long period until new systems settle. So if you have any questions or concerns, please feel free to reach out. I do think that transparency is really important, and life happens. That's just kind of the way that it goes. And I really want to thank the governing board, who has been unbelievably supportive of me. And I want to thank my staff at the Lennox Foundation, who have been phenomenal in terms of building and creating a team that is able to kind of keep going and keep moving things forward, even and perhaps because of some of the challenges that we face. And then I really want to thank you all. I've gotten great feedback, and I just want you to know that I love you all. And it's been your support has been phenomenal and has inspired me. And I want you to know that I have great healthcare providers. I have great personal support. I have great family support. And you guys just sort of, you're the icing on the cake. You're the thing that, you're my North Star. I mean, honestly, LF Energy is my North Star. And I have to keep remembering we have a really important role. And we're at the beginning of our journey. So I just wanted to start with that. So there weren't any questions, or people were kind of wondering if I had just gotten a very stylish hairdo, because that has been suggested too. Okay, so on to the next slide. So when I look back about 2022, the thing that I will really think about is growth, and growth in projects and growth in members, and growth in sort of scope and scale of our projects, of kind of the maturity of our community. You want to go to the next slide? So, you can kind of see it in this slide. All the little yellows there are all the new members. We went from Oleander and RTE as strategic members, to Google, Microsoft, Shell, and then most recently Apple last week. We closed and they have joined the governing board and the strategic community, specifically around their interest in the carbon data specification. So I am immensely grateful for their support. It makes us, it helps us to be able to devote more resources to the community as the community is growing, and for us to really think about what we want 2023 to be. And then I also really want to thank our members, our general members, and this has been really tremendous. There are a couple of other members that are kind of, that we're not showing their logos. Anto is going to talk all about something that's happening with Areti in Rome, and Atos. And so I think that that's an incredibly important and interesting case study. And then I want to thank our associate members who've jumped on board. Thank you all for joining. And, you know, everything about LF Energy is about our members. So thank you very much for getting in the boat with us. So let's kind of go to the next slide. And, you know, and then I really just want to acknowledge our new projects. You know, we ended 2021 with with an incredible growth in projects. It hasn't been as many projects coming in this year, but I think that we've had two particularly, well, I think all of these projects are actually really important. We have these new projects that are related to the Carbon Data Specification Consortium and the Super Advanced Meter SAM, and that these two projects represent kind of the beginning of our journey into standards and specifications. And John is going to talk about that a little bit down the line. And then there's OCPP Cloud Connector, I think it's OCPP, and that's the Open Charging Protocol. And the Cloud Connector enables great process and progress with regards to fleets and EVs and cloud connections. ARIS is one of our most recent projects, although RTDIP is actually the last project, but ARIS was, and I think that I was going to talk a little bit about all of these projects, or the three other projects down the path a bit. But ARIS is a really important contribution that was made that comes out of investments by the Department of Energy. It was formerly known as GridLab-D, and it has been renamed and contributed to LF Energy. And I think we will be hearing much more about them in 23 as this really important project becomes known to our community and we begin talking about how to integrate it. And then the RTDIP is just a tremendous investment on behalf of Shell and a contribution. It was formerly known as the Shell Sensor Intelligence Platform. It has been contributed into LF Energy to have a totally neutral environment and community to build around it. It is our opportunity to actually make some headway into AI and ML. And I think that there's some great opportunities that are going to happen in 23 with regards to our work in the data space and with AL and ML. So I'm going to turn it over to Luchan here. Because from my perspective, Luchan as the board chair and Anto as the TAC chair are just really important voices for our community. And it's not about us, the Lennox Foundation, it's really about you all. So I'm going to pass it off.
Thanks, Julie. Hi, everybody. And I would also like not only to talk from my perspective, but from the board perspective. And so first to start with, from the board perspective, I would like to thank you, Julie, to thank John, and to thank Dan for your commitment, because LF Energy has grown tremendously. Last year, this North Star is now climbing into the sky and shining, and I think that now we have grown our credibility. We have also grown our vision. We have grown our members and projects, and this will help us a lot for the future. I would also like to thank the community because we really start feeling the power of the community and the dynamics behind it, and people just grasping issues, grasping topics, taking initiatives, not only for their company, but also for the sake of the whole community. And that's a great achievement. So to elaborate a little bit on where we are and also where we are headed, maybe if you go to next slide, please. And the next one. So this year, the board met on a monthly cadence. So we have every 2 months we have a regular board meeting on the, let's say, business as usual activities, and the other months we have a more strategic board meeting, and we worked closely with LF Energy's leadership to support the growth plan. So to help growing membership and the projects. We also took several initiatives to increase awareness about the necessity of having open source collaborations, industrial open source collaborations, if we want to increase the speed of the digitalization of our industry for the sake of the energy transition. And this led to significant achievements. And you will see on next slide, but for instance, in terms of outreach in 2022, we produced a response to an important consultation from the European Commission on the digitalization of energy action plan. It's a great report, and actually a few weeks ago the European Commission published their let's say the results of this consultation in terms of a communication on the action plan, and we were pleased to see that open source is now part of the strategy, is mentioned as one tool to fulfill the digitalization goal, ICIS goals, and that's a great achievement that would not have been possible without LF Energy. LF research team also carried out a great study, and we have the honor of being the subjects of this story. So the a story on Alliander's and Artie's experience with open source, and how we are using this collaboration model to speed the modernization of the electrical grids. So you will have the links to these two studies in the next slide, and please, if you haven't done so, have a look at them. We also worked on a significant, a major governance development, that is the launch of LF Energy Standards and Specification Initiative, and this will be elaborated further today. And another, let's say, achievement of our board meetings was also to brainstorm jointly on how we can find new collaborations among ourselves, among our companies, and this triggered a couple of very interesting topics. So if we go to the next slide, please. I think these are the links, yes, to the studies I mentioned. So great reports, please have a look at them, very insightful. So to put faces on the board, the board has grown this year. Our last meeting, our last full member meeting was in January this year, if I'm not wrong. And since then, Maud Texier from Google joined the board. Marissa Hammond from Utility Data joined the board. Maggie from What Carbon joined the board, and recently Bryce L joined the board. So it's great that we have now a team that is working with various perspectives, let's say complementarity needs, but also points that are in common. And I understand from what Julie just said that the team should grow again with Apple joining us. So one more person for next time at least, and even more. Maybe if we go to the next slide. Please. Yeah. So where do we want to go now? And we are looking at 2023 with increased ambitions, and of course we worked on our strategic plan, and we want to focus on the growth of memberships, so growth of revenues that will give us additional means to be more efficient and have more to be more impactful on the industry. We are also working on the growth of projects, but that does not only mean onboarding new projects, but also growing the current project portfolio. And we have a life cycle maturity stage that has been defined, and that helps us to work with each project and to help them to increase their maturity. So that means investing into the communities and helping the communities to adopt the right practices to be more efficient from, let's say, a collaboration point of view. So that goes through documentation, for instance, but not only. There are many great practices that the open source community has developed through the past decades, and we are benefiting from this huge experience to be more efficient. Besides efficiency for collaboration, an important stake is to increase the security of the software in our industry. So we want to focus on that. We already worked on that, incentivizing the projects to grow through an LF badging process that helps to assess what are the right practices and what are the gaps, and we will go further next year, implementing security audits. We will also showcase the value of our projects, so through more publications, new websites, increasing the communications through news, etc., releases, press releases, etc. Another important stake is to grow the capacity of the community, and that means training and user enablement. So for that, we plan to host a developer conference next year. We also want to identify what kind of training courses would be essential to the projects grow their capacity and to start building the training programs. If we go to next slide, we also want to let's say improve our understanding of the ecosystem. So that means conducting more research studies to find what are the right priorities that we should tackle, and also what are the barriers, the gaps that we should address to get more impact. As I mentioned, LF Energy North Star is climbing. We are now recognized as an important entity in the landscape. We want to reinforce that. This goes through additional marketing campaigns, but also it's not only about marketing, but also publishing articles that are addressing key challenges, both technical and societal challenges, having more video series that can help the industry to understand what we are doing and how we can fulfill their needs. Participation to sponsorship and industry events to help also the industry to understand the value of what we are doing, and also reinforcing the interaction with our community. So through an outreach community, making the links between the experts of the various projects and offering them speaking opportunities, etc., etc. Also, tooling is an important added value of LF Energy to and basically what we want to do is to relieve all burden, organizational, practical burdens that our projects may encounter, so that they can really focus on where they have added value and that they can be more efficient. Yeah, so if you go to next slide, so why should you join us, and especially at the board level, and joining the board team? So today you are, if you are attending this meeting, you are part of the community, or you are in advanced discussion to be part of the community and to be part of the power of together. But being part of LF Energy's board is a great opportunity to take one step further and to have your voice into what we are doing, the action that we are taking, the orientation that we are taking. And in the current context, is challenging for all of our industries, all our sectors, and there is a lot of uncertainty about the transformations that we need to accomplish, and also if we look especially in the current context of the COP event, we have tremendous goals in front of us. In this context, being part of the action, taking actions and joining forces with other companies to try to find solution is, to my point of view, the best way to be in a good position tomorrow. So LF Energy is not only the power of together, but being part of its leadership is being also having the power of choice, at least to some extent, for tomorrow. I'll stop here from the board perspective, and I'll give the floor to Anto, who will talk about the TAC.
Thank you, Lucian. And I'd like also to start thanking everybody in the board, in the TAC, and all the members for the fantastic year that we had. And as you saw from the numbers, the growth has been incredible. And as chair of the TAC, for us, is really relevant to see the progress of the projects and how relevant are also the new project we added to our portfolio. So I'd like to move to the next slide and really focusing first of all on this aspect. What you see here is the famous, I would say now, stack that is one of the most important technical activity we have done because allow us to understand really how we are structured. And I see that also as an opportunity to perform a sort of SWOT analysis on other projects where that we need more project, where we are strong, where are our weakness. And I'm proud to say that looking at this map is getting more and more difficult to put icons on this diagram, which means you're really covering the full stack and now being able to say that through the Linux Foundation Energy, we are able to provide full solutions and they're end-to-end in this stack. And I was really pleased recently, I was in a panel organized by the European Association of Distribution System Operator, and one of the major manufacturers showed their stack, and it was incredibly populated at every level of LFE contribution, which showed really the value of our association and how our projects are really able to cover all the different needs in the energy sectors. But nevertheless, this is the picture from the past. So going to the next slide, we can see a little bit of how the new projects are increasing the coverage and how then this stack is really becoming full, which is exactly the task. And I think what is more relevant here, apart from talking about specific project, but I find very relevant that we had a layer in the middle, the supporting platform, where we didn't have a specific project in the foundation. Now we do. And I think that's really now allowing to say that at every level of the stack, we have solutions that we can offer. And in some of the layers, we are actually very, very full in the good sense that we cover every possible need that we can consider. And so that's a little bit more about the project. Was maybe next slide was already mentioned by Shuli in the opening. These are the three. Two will be discussed later in the standard part by John. Here, a little bit about these three projects. Some elements here, what I'm really glad that happened in the last year, I would say, and OCCP Cloud Connector is one example, is that we're also able to capture contribution coming from the startup and small enterprises, not just about the big business. So particularly in the sector of electromobility, the contribution of small companies are being really important. And this project is one concrete example in that direction. Aras already, Shuli mentioned, GridLabD is a name, no question for people in our sector. They're very much aware of the contribution of this platform. And for simulation and having that part of our ecosystem is a great addition. And last but not least, related to the real-time data ingestion platform, as I say, this is covering a hole that we have in our stack, and now we are getting also to cover that part with a Linux Foundation Energy offer. So in conclusion, the project portfolio looks really good, really healthy, and well distributed across the different layers with a variety of contribution for a variety of partners, which is exactly what the Power Together is about. And now to complete my part of going to the next slide, let me tell you a little bit of a story, of a good story that happened, and to show you really how the power together becomes real. And that's about a project in Horizon 2020 called Platone, where I have the pleasure to coordinate, in which we have been working on developing a full architecture to bring customers into the power grid at distribution level. So this is in Europe at the moment one of the key questions: how we involve customers, how we make sure the data are transferred from customers and the customer participate to services, at the same time with the DSO at the center, guaranteeing the stability and the continuity of service of the infrastructure. And that's exactly the idea of Platone, and what we've been working on in the last 3 years, having in the middle, in the green button, one of the projects of the Linux Foundation, which is the Sonio project, where I'm also involved. Going to the next slide. I would like to focus on one specific part of this project, because that's where the story happens. The project is not only theoretical development, it is also based on demonstrations. And the most complete demonstration of the project is what we call Italian demo, which deals with building and implementing the platform as experiment in the city of Rome, in a portion of the city. And it's exactly an example that is covering all the different value added by the architecture of Platone. And what you see here is the full architecture as envisioned and implemented in this demonstration, which is covering some of the part of the city as a way to learn how such a solution may work in real life with real customers and real data. And going to the next slide, what is interesting is that it's a combination of different elements incorporated in this portion of the network. So we have energy community element, we have the smart building element, we have the possibility to include cogeneration, we have electromobility, and this all together harmonize in the picture of the architecture that I showed before. So this has been the experiment. Let's build the platform, let's see what happens, and let's see if we can really bring value, having one of the building block, one of the LFE projects, so Sonio. Going to the next slide. And yeah, this is a little bit of the relation to the field. Here you see on the map of the city of Rome, we are not just kidding. We are really talking about the biggest city level infrastructure in Europe that has been in 3 locations, as you see here, starting the learning curve on what happens to use open source and open architecture to build the modern operation of a distribution system operator. And going to the next slide, that's the fantastic part of the story. After some years of experience in the project is still a few months to go, but we are in the phase of learning from what we have done. The most important thing is that thanks to the experience gained in dealing with open source and being involved in the demonstration, the grid operator, so Areti, as is the one mentioned here in the slide, took the decision that the next generation of their ADMS will be fully based on the concept that we tested, which means that the Sonio platform and the Sonio architecture will be the reference of their future. And this is not just an intention. They ran the public tender that was closed very recently, and with the selection of the winner, and that's one of the new members involved, which is Atos. And this will bring the city of Rome to be the first place where in the complete scale of millions of customers, we'll have one of our projects running and demonstrating model concept, also flexibility market in the concept of a city level. Going to the next slide, I think this is my last slide, if I remember correctly. I just want to show you this example to show that the path is incredibly fast thanks to open source, and the real operator change completely their way of working as soon as they wait to try in the real life. With that, I will close, and it's my great pleasure to hand over to John to talk about standard specification. Thank you all.
Thank you, Anto. Really, really appreciate it and the hard work that you have been leading with our Technical Advisory Council. One of the things new that the LF Energy Foundation has been focused on this year is a standards focus, which is a bit of a new path for this foundation, but certainly not for the industry. And one of the questions that we often see is open source v standards. What is that like? You know, aren't these things at opposing ends of the spectrum? And if you flip ahead a slide here, there's a really good chart that I've pulled out of some of the materials as we talk about the relationship between open source and standards. And the reality is they both are very similar, but they're also very dependent upon each other. And if you look at the concepts of open collaboration, you know, standards has been a part of that for decades. And we've seen a number of innovations and industry alignments in the energy industry, but also in a number of others that have all been driven through standards. What we have seen over, you know, the last decade or so is open source software at first sort of looked as a as something that was kind of, you know, bumping into the way of it, or a disruptor. But now we're actually seeing it as more of an acceleration mechanism, where we can see these standards quickly being implemented in code so that people are able to drive them forward. And this was a lot of the impetus behind the formation of a standards focus under LF Energy. In particular, a group here that is able to drive standards using, you know, traditional collaboration models, such as those used similarly in the W3C and other organizations, but also in more open models as well, to help drive forward standards within here, but also standards that can directly engage and work with open source, but have the same engagement that you'd expect in open source, where you can see open collaboration, open discussion, you know, working through some of those traditional mechanisms, or those traditional mechanisms that we expect here in open source, but at the same time being able to drive industry specifications that can be adopted through and ratified through ISO and other formalized bodies. And this is what LFE standards and specifications is all about. If you skip to the next slide here, we have two efforts that are underway as it relates to that. And we kind of touched on them a little brief earlier. The first is the Carbon Data Specification Consortium. And we launched that earlier this year with the idea of creating a data dictionary around sort of the raw data and standards for data requirements that kind of enable that energy data access for carbon emissions, which, you know, carbon, you know, data and carbon emissions is a huge thing, you know, not only for this industry, but our society as a whole. And we've seen a huge uptick of interest in LF Energy specific around this as a topic. And this is sort of a unique way that we can help bring together parties across the, you know, the energy industry and beyond to come talk about this topic and help build a data dictionary around it. And you can learn more if you go to carbondataspec.org. You can learn about the work that's underway. You can learn, join some of the various working groups and just sort of understand where that's going. The timing is really good, as that is a group right now that is, you know, getting ready to kind of reboot itself to some degree. They had some earlier momentum, and they've transitioned a little bit of their governance model. So if you're definitely interested, check that out. The second is the Super Advanced Meter Project, which is really focused on helping build that sort of smart meter data gateway. And this is something that you all know is a huge part of moving forward our energy transition and really helping, you know, establish that within an open source context. This is sort of a newer group that's forming. You can go to superadvancedmeter.energy to sort of learn more about where that's at, and join some of the mailing lists and see some of the topics that are going on there. But both are sort of the first two efforts we're seeing going. And, you know, this is an area where we invite members that might see other opportunities for similar efforts to bring them here to LF Energy. We can provide the hosting for them, the infrastructure, along with sort of the legal and governance pieces here to help drive these forward, so that they could, potentially become ISO or other industry body specifications over time. So if you skip to the next slide, we can learn a little bit more on how you move forward. And if you're an organization that's wanting to get involved, what does that look like? The first is kind of take the two links we had before, carbondataspec.org, superadvancedmeter.energy. Go there, check out the work, see how it aligns with what you're doing or of areas of interest. If you're interested, each of these groups have working groups that are tackling and building out the specification in various areas. Subscribe to that mailing list, attend a meeting, and help join of what's going on. And then if you're looking to contribute to these groups, you can join our LF Energy Standards and Specification Project. As a member, there's no additional cost as you have an LF Energy member to join and contribute to these. And if you're interested in that, you can contact us at operations@lfenergy.org and we can share more information with you on that topic. So it's kind of an overview of where, and I would say very high level overview of where that group is. And now we kind of want to open the floor to further QA and discussion.
And for anyone who joined late, we put this up at the beginning, but if you have not had a chance yet to participate in the poll or to submit any thoughts on the questions at the bottom of this slide, please go ahead and do that now. We can probably start by going over some of the questions that have been asked, and I know that Julie and John have been responding to those directly, but I think that there's some good information for the group. There were two questions that were very similar around awareness raising at the highest level of the role that LF Energy is playing. Let's see what this is. There's little to no doubt that the digital dimension to the energy transition is essential, but there's uncertainty around whether the energy sector actually knows about the work being done. For those who don't know me, I know I'm here as LF Energy staff because that's the only account we can run a webinar through. But my name's Dan Brown. I joined about 2.5 months ago as a member of the staff here heading up marketing. So at a high level, we're building out a pretty robust marketing plan for next year that is really focused on exactly that, raising awareness across different industries, different sectors of the energy industry, I should say, about everything that we're doing. So that's everything from thought leadership, case studies, more involvement in events. We want to do videos, we want to do podcasts. And so a big part of that is we will be looking to stand up an outreach committee. Any member company will be welcome to contribute a member to that committee. Ideally, it would be someone from your marketing department or your communications department. And, I will work with them on getting their input into our plans, ideas for things that we may not be looking at right now. And then leveraging all of your networks, frankly, because you all have great contacts across the industry and the open source community that we want to get in front of. So a lot more to come there. I know Lucian did touch on quite a bit of it in the 2023 strategy. If there were any other specific questions around that, though, feel free to raise your hand. I can unmute folks if anyone wanted to ask a question there. And Julie, if you had anything you wanted to add to that, feel free.
The only thing I just wanted to clarify, Anto had to catch a train. He was in Paris. He needs to get back to Germany for dinner. So he's on a train. So he didn't just kind of disappear. This was planned. I think, Tony and Jonas both more or less asked the same question, which is, how are we going to tackle this? Because there are many dimensions to the lack of adoption and diffusion of this notion of open source. And I think we've gotten to where we are today because we have been trying to do that. We also, I don't think, we didn't mention this, but I think probably many of you have sort of seen the request to participate in the survey around transformation readiness. Partly what we really wanted was to get some feedback from people about, what is making it difficult in terms of being able to fully engage in transformation readiness, and to be able to look at kind of the, some of the myths around open source as being something that affects commercial investment. And, we really believe when you look at all of the historical investments that have been made in the internet and telecommunications and automotive and healthcare, all of those industries have had massive acceleration because of open source. And so I think partly, why LF Energy, as we grew, particularly our strategic members, but also had just huge growth with general members, was that we wanted to take those investments and put them into an amazing human like Dan to help really lead us through exactly this problem that the two of you pointed out. So I see us going in the right direction, but really would love some feedback, and really hope that when we open up the outreach committee, and we specifically didn't want to call it marketing or communication, that that what we're talking about is really what is our narrative out to the world, and how do we get people engaged in that narrative. So that is why we've invested and basically figured out how to make a place at the table for Dan as a full-time resource. So would love to hear anything more about this from you all, if it's on your minds.
And maybe to add on top of what you said, Shuli, we can see the glass half empty or half filled regarding awareness. So if we look backwards, where we were in 2018, I'm quite amazed about how awareness improved in our industry. Maybe we expected to go faster at that time, but still, in the communication from the European Commission on the energy action, on the action plan on the digitalization of the energy sector, they are now mentioning open source as one of the tools that should be used. A couple of months, I think, ago, the European DSO Association just organized a full workshop on open source, and the question was: Is open source the next revolution in the DSO industry? So these are signs that awareness has improved. So if in the past years we filled the glass to the half, and now that we are more efficient, I'm quite confident that in a couple of years we will achieve much better awareness. And maybe, but it's not only about awareness. When we discuss with grid operators, some start to be really aware, but the next question is, how can we build capacity? They understand the power of the open source, but now how can they step in? And that's maybe a more difficult challenge to accomplish.
That's great. Thank you both for that. The one other question that came in, and John did respond to, the questioner was, is there an LFE policy on publishing suitable information under Creative Commons BY 4.0 for wider audience interest analysis, and the same for data standards? The answer there is each of our hosted projects defined an IP policy for contributions, including those to standards. Generally, we see non-code contributions to projects under the Creative Commons 4.0 license, while standards work will use licensing as determined by the individual working group. But if there was any further questions on that, feel free to chime in. Those are the only questions that we received, though. I will say we had great responses to the poll. So thank you all for filling that in. I'm not sure if I can put the results up on screen, unfortunately, but overwhelmingly, by far, the resource that folks have said that they would like us to provide more of is training or tutorials around our projects. 79% of you said that. And 32% also said they would like training around participating in open source generally. That one, I will say, is available for free from the Linux Foundation already. So we can take steps to share that with the community more directly. But training around LF Energy projects is something that we do have in our plan. And overwhelmingly, that was the #1 thing that folks are looking for. Shuli, I don't know if you wanted to touch more on that.
I think if you go, I think we'll make this deck available. But if you go and you look at our 2023 goals, or kind of, where are we steering towards? Training is really important. And so we would absolutely like to, we're going to cover those things. And Dan, I don't know if you can drop a link into the training around participating in open source communities, just so that people have that.
Yeah, I don't have it to hand, but if you go to training.linuxfoundation.org, which I will put in here, Linux Foundation offers something like close to 70, I think, free different training courses. Some are specific to different Linux Foundation projects. But there is an entire curriculum on open source best practices, everything from courses focused on a business audience. Maybe you're not a developer, maybe you're in legal or finance and your company is using open source and you need to understand the impact, or you are a developer and you need to understand licensing and compliance issues, or how to work in Git. All of those resources are available for free. So I will put a link in the chat to Linux Foundation training. And I would encourage everyone to look at that, certainly from that particular perspective. But as Shuli said, our goal is to start doing specific training courses around our projects as well. I also see a lot of people, almost half of the respondents, want more webinars. I'll throw a quick plug out for our Everest project, which has to do with electric vehicle charging infrastructure. There will be an Everest webinar tomorrow. You can find information about that in our blog, as well as on our social media channels. So please register for that if you're interested in that. But other projects, we would love to help you host webinars. So please feel free to reach out to me anytime, and I can help arrange that for you. I'll say the other big thing in the poll was increased collaboration between different project communities. So Shuli, maybe you or Lucien can touch on how we're working to improve collaboration between the different projects.
You know, I mean, I would just say this again looks at our, I mean, what's great about this is it's really confirming of our 2023 goals. Because what I see looking out there is that our next step really is around commercialization. And at the heart of that commercialization is going to be the ability to integrate the various different projects, you know, and to be able to look at how these things are can be put together. And I think that I know that Lucien and Ariane from Oleander, and you know that there's some great interest to be able to provide that. I mean, I think the reason why Anto was in Paris because he was meeting with RTE. So, you know, there is a full-on effort here, really trying to build collaboration.
Exactly. We have been really positively surprised. Before LF Energy, Oleander and RTE did not knew each other. I mean, we had never worked with Oleander, and we learned each other, and we found many new collaboration opportunities. So connecting building blocks that are coming from RTE with building blocks that are coming from Oleander is something that brings great value because we are leveraging the added value of what others have done, and we are bringing our added value to the pot. So there are several ways to tackle that. Part of this is also tooling, and under the TAC umbrella, there have been some works to build the architecture, the functional architecture that Anto presented, and that was just the first step. So to have, let's say, a common language around projects and see how they position each other. And now the second step may be around tooling. So there are some works ongoing with Archimate to be able to start building a consistent architecture and define the interfaces between projects and common language, common understanding about the semantics, etc. So this will help further. I already see that within the TAC, there are already discussions, connections, and ideas popping up there. But there is still a lot of work to do. Yeah, we need to think further about this need.
Wonderful. And I see Tony had a comment in the Q&A, and if you'd like to speak, Tony, I can unmute you because I know that you said that you would love to mention something briefly. So I have unmuted you now.
Yeah, thank you. And it's as much a comment as a question, but it's there's an idea in it if I could. And firstly, just to say, you know, it's a privilege to be here, to hear the stories that have kind of been told already of LF Energy's kind of rise over the last number of years and where it is at today. And I had the fortune to meet Lucien and colleagues from Arte and Oleander in Dublin recently, where they told a great story here too. And I'm very inspired by Shuli's story earlier, but I'm mindful that, you know, the point Shuli was making there about in the comment about telling a story is vital. I think the way I'm thinking about this in my head is that we all know that this is a decade of major change in the world, that we have to kind of turn things around in this decade to kind of, help people and planet. And we know that the energy transition, really is shifting gear now as we speak. We know that those of us who are on the call, I guess, know that the software side of it is actually going to be a vital dimension to that. When I'm hearing stories about the energy transition in a lot of other media, I don't hear that software dimension mentioned. I think a lot of people in the energy world probably don't even think in software terms. But I'm interested, particularly when you've got the likes of Google and Microsoft and Apple here on the board now, as I understand it. And we know that the open source community is a very vibrant community around the world. So part of me is thinking that there's a story I'm sure to be told here in terms of mobilizing the open source masses around climate change and contributing for the greater good. That actually, if you were to ask and empower and encourage the big tech people that are represented now on LFLNG to begin to try to mobilize their teams around the globe to contribute to these projects, I think it can only do good. Because I've been involved in software for a long time from a healthcare dimension. And actually, I'm really drawn to this energy challenge because it's such an important one. But I see common ground in every project that I tend to look at. And I think although software people are coming from this from another angle, if you mobilize, the energy world as you're doing already, as well as the software world already, to look at what are the common components that actually really make a difference. And I don't know the tech here well enough. I haven't had the time yet to look under the hood, but the edge computing stuff or whatever that might be, there's work here that really can be mobilized at scale, I think, around the world with the open source call to go out to the open source community to help. I don't know that there's a better, apart from healthcare, there's probably not a better way that these open source community can contribute around the world. But there's a call to action that may be required here, and there's a story to be told. I can see a video in my eyes, and I can hear a story being told that actually would be that call to arms that could go out around now to actually mobilize people. And I think LF Energy is absolutely well placed to commission and to get that story out there and to begin that mobilization effort, because the time is now. There's a great tactic in storytelling. I don't know if you ever heard of it. It's made up of three things. It's called the story of self, the story of us, the story of now. And Shuli's story is an inspiring story. Your combined story is an inspiring story. But the time to shout for that greater help is now, I feel. And I would go big on this story and not hold back. That's all I have to say.
Tony, that is so great. I love what you just said. And, I think to kind of answer a little bit what I think is implicit in your question is that when I think about really the transformational readiness of utilities to be able to take on what is next, and the need for R&D and collaborative environments that are open and have clear IP policies so that people can contribute and it can happen quickly. That when I think about networking and telecommunications, I think about edge and I think about cloud. And
Right.
I believe that you have to put them, those three things are what is going to really profoundly support the transformation. And the application layers that we're developing are basically applications that I think are going to be, for the most part, hosted in the cloud, or they're cloud native based on microservices, like a like Soigno. So I think you hit it straight on, and I really look forward to talking to you more.
Thank you. No, appreciate the chance to be here. Thank you.
Anybody else want to add anything? All of you that, you know, we made this a little bit longer than an hour. A lot of people dropped off at the top of the hour because we really wanted to be able to have questions, to be able to put, you know, put things out in front. I know there are people here who aren't members, and you may have your own questions, but please, that's the reason why we tacked on this extra 30 minutes.
Yeah, and if anyone, oh, I see a hand raised. So here, oh, here we go.
Madhavan.
Hi. I just wanted to say, you know, I've over the last couple of months really enjoyed being part of, you know, the program, but also like, you know, I mean, the whole world of open source is just so required for various reasons and purposes. So, you know, at Carbon Laces, I mean, we're all in for it, and we'll continue to support and develop as we also grow as a company. So thank you very much, and we look forward to it.
Thank you, Madhavan. It's been a pleasure getting to know you.
Thank you.
Anybody else?
And if you're shy, you can always
Well.
type it in the Q&A button. You don't have to speak.
Exactly. Well, if we have reached
We have one
the
from
end.
McGee.
Okay, McGee, I was counting on you.
I know. I figured I'd wait and maybe get the last word in. Probably the penultimate word, because
Okay.
you'll have an eloquent wrap up. But I'll just say two things. Number one, it's so awesome to see you here, and I love your haircut, and it's just great to see you fighting through this tough year. And we've all been, you know, putting you in our thoughts and prayers, and trying to give you some strength. And but you give us strength, and it's just such an honor to be able to work with you and to be part of this with you. And then I'll say, you know, on behalf of the board, or, you know, because I'm the newest board member, so I can speak on behalf of the board now. If anybody has, you know, I don't know how many people are on left, it might just be like 4 of us or something, but if anybody does have questions about, you know, the different projects, or how to get involved, or like how we're thinking about things, or like whatever, you know, feel free to hit us up. You know, our names are on the website for a reason. We have time in our calendars set aside for contributing to building the community around LF Energy. And I, for one, and you know, echo Tony's comments for sure. This is an incredibly interesting time to be part of something like this. And you know, if folks are, you know, feeling like they want to get involved but don't know where to start, definitely lean on us at the board level for helping to point you in the right direction.
Thank you, McGee. I adore you. You're great. And I think it's totally true and authentic. And for all of you who are not here and who are listening to this, please feel free to reach out, to ask questions, and, you know, to keep us on our toes. Yeah. This year's 23 is going to be a really interesting year. There's a bunch of proof of concept projects and concepts in the field. I know GE is doing one. And, you know, Raphael, I see that you're on board here, and really glad to see your presence. And any way that we can continue to open communication with the vendors. Our desire in life is not to cannibalize your capital. It's to help create an innovation pipeline that actually will allow us to decarbonize. That is what is important. And perhaps as we're moving forward, the emphasis on data, which I think is going to be very strong in 23, not only because the contribution that came from Shell came from their data group, but we're in the process of also working out a data fellowship that I hope we can announce sometime soon. And I see, Mohammed, you're an AI data guy from TU Delft. We really want to step into this space because I think it's one of the areas that is non-competitive and enables interoperability. And fundamentally, that is what LF Energy is about facilitating interoperability.
If there are any final questions, we do have a few minutes still. Or comments, feedback. All right, well, I'm not seeing any, so I suppose we can wrap up.
Great. Well, something just got popped into Q&A. That's great, Jonas. Thank you for everything you give to LF Energy. I think you're amazing. Anybody else? Otherwise, we will say thank you and see you when we see you. Hopefully, there are going to be a couple of different options in 23, and I hope that we're going to get to announce those sometime in the next month before the end of the year. But we're working very hard to create multiple venues for us to come together in person. And also, you always can reach out to us. Let's go be productive. Let's go scale this mountain.
Thank you, Shuli. And the slides and the recording of this presentation will both be shared. So keep an eye out for that. And we'll be in touch soon.
Wonderful. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Have a
Thank you.
good
Take care.
holiday season.
Thank you. Take
Bye-bye.
care. Talk soon.
Bye.
Bye-bye.